So last time we started foreign exchange exposure assessment. So we were able to see that, okay, what is the problem? The problem is exactly that we have to import the engines, so we have to pay some US dollars for the euros, and after that we have to see and analyze that practically is this a problem for us when we have to purchase these engines, is this exposure relevant or not. So after defining the different types of exposures, and then when we checked that, okay, how many engines do we need, what is their cost, and then how do they relate to the pre-tax profit, then we realized that maybe we should deal with this problem, so we cannot let it go. So, determining the preferred change of the exchange rate, obviously since we are importing goods, we learned that introduction to finance that in this case appreciation must be preferred, because in this case it would decrease the costs in euros. And after that we have to see that, okay, but what can happen in the future. So practically we can run some forecasting scenarios, and in this case the easiest way when we are saying that, okay, let's assume that the market is efficient, what you learned at corporate finance. So in this case we have to assume that practically this is following a random walk behavior, so prices are changing because they remember only the past value, what happened last day or last week, and also they are following a normal distribution, so they don't have any extreme jumps back and forth. They are completely boring. And if we have this assumption, then we can say that, okay, we can use only the data to forecast itself. So the easiest way is to use Excel, and then we can have some ideas. Practically we just have to see that what is the worst case scenario for exchange rate changes, or can we expect that it will appreciate or depreciate. So we have really simple assumptions, or we can have this simulation with a GARCH model when we are just building up the standard deviation model, so how volatile is the asset, and after that we will run, we are estimating the model, and after that we will run 100 simulations with this estimation, and after that we will check that what is the expected outcome, so the medium of the outcomes, and also what is the most extreme 5% in both directions, and then we can see that what is the best case scenario, worst case scenario, and the expected one. But last time I did not have appropriate data for that, because it requires weekly data, so that's why I prepared one for today. But if we are saying that the data or the exchange rate market is not efficient, then we can say that additional macro variables can have an influence on exchange rate movements. So we can say that it can build up or it can follow this interest rate parity rule. What you also learned at the introduction to finance, that interest rate differential between foreign interest rates and domestic interest rates will determine that will the currency appreciate or depreciate, because it can provide the motivation for investors. Just if we are doing it a nice way, then we can add also inflation differential, because it's more elegant. And after that, so we have the Excel forecast data. It says that the euro has a tendency for further depreciation against the US dollar. So it's not great. Then, okay, that will be the simulation, but also the macro model, what we were able to fit with the vector autoregressive model. So if you want to work at central bank or anywhere in the financial system, or at a company where you have to manage foreign exchange risk, you can run this quite relatively simple models. Okay, this one is much more like a master or PhD level model, so you don't have to be afraid if you don't know anything about this. Just I wanted to show you that what is the fancy way to do this, but also this is the hard way, because it's really hard to fit good models on the data, but still we can see that, yeah, we can have some forecasts, but this forecast says that practically the exchange rate should jump back to this 1.4, 1.3 levels, so no such depreciation will happen. So euro will be relatively strong against US dollar, which is nice. And after that we can make the hedging decisions. So if exposure is not significant, or the preferred direction is expected, then we can say that we don't want to deal with this at all, or otherwise we can say that let's buy options, let's hedge roll the positions, and then who cares the rest. So today I would like to still show you this GARCH model fitting, because at least I can show you how we can do simulations. So what are the expectations and how this is made. So let's have a MATLAB, and also I prepare this weekly US dollar euro exchange. There is some kind of artifact in the data, because this is not supposed to happen in each day. This should be some kind of anomaly, because this is completely an extreme jump here. I don't know what happened. I don't remember anything, so this is not good, but still we can build a model with that one, so let's ignore this. Okay. So first of all, in MATLAB we have to load in the data, so simulation with GARCH model, and simulation with GARCH model. So first of all we have loading the data. So we worked with MATLAB this semester. Okay, because yeah. So MATLAB looks like this in most of the cases. So this is an industrial software for many different purposes, not just for economics or econometrics, but it's also for natural sciences. So financial application is just one dimension, but practically if you want to learn R or RStudio or Python, they are absolutely similar. So just some notations are different, but the logic is similar. So we are writing the code here into the editor. This is where we can see that what is the work folder where we are located now. There is this ribbon which is completely useless, and this is the workspace where if you are loading in some data, then it will be located here, and the command window where we can get the results or error messages is here. And if we are writing any comments, so we don't want to build into the code, but still it's necessary to have some description what is happening here and there in the code, then we can use the percentage marks, and practically that's also. We will start with the clear. In this case, the clear is removing everything from workspace, so it can be useful. Then the data. So the structure for all the functions in MATLAB is output function name So on the right side of the equation there's always the name of the function and the related inputs or switches, and on the left side of the equation we can find the defined outputs. So until there is only one output we are not using the squared brackets. If we are above it, then we are using it. And what is really important that we cannot so it's always going from left to the right, so we can remove many unnecessary inputs or unnecessary outputs from on the yeah. So if there will be two outputs, I can remove this one, or I can rename the output to anything. But what matters that the location will determine that what will be located there. So yeah, but I will show you examples today. So we need the data, so let's load in the Excel sheet. So XLS read. We have this weekly XLSX. So if we have to define any text as an input, it's necessary always to put between these quotation marks with shift 1, and after that it will be this pink color. It always reads in the first data sheet, so we don't need further implications. And also, if you don't want to print out all the details here, then the semicolon, semicolon is used here. And after that we have the data, and you can see here that it removes all the headers, all the dates. We can put them also into the data set, but practically we don't need it for calculation, so it will just disturb things. And also we know that our USD is the first column. So in MATLAB there is always the same structure, that if we have any matrix or vector, then practically the first coordinate after in the bracket will determine always the row, the second one will determine the columns, and also we can see that the row can be a number, it can be a range of numbers, it can be everything, so all the rows what we can see here, that I wanted to copy everything. And it can be I, in this case we are determining from outside, and the column is, for the column is the same, just in this case we are using always a J to determine its value. So okay, so practically after showing or looking at functions and calibration or designation of the different parts of the matrices, practically you learn most of the MATLAB script writing. So this is absolutely not hard, but let's start to use this, because still what we would like to, or how we would like to use this, is that we need the changes of the US dollar euro exchange rate, because this is just the second part of the equation, but first we have to reduce it to the changes, so that's why we need differentials. So logarithmic return would be preferred, but right now it's easier to work just with the return without logarithm. I forgot that if we would like to execute something, that F9 is. Running the part of the script, so we were able to cut the necessary, and also Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V, everything is the same like in Excel or elsewhere. So let's run the differential. I could put them together, but let's define it as a standalone variable. So, okay, then first GARCH model fitting or estimation. So in this case we are using an external toolbox. So this is practically a folder with a lot of functions which are referring to each other, and this was developed by this guy. So he works at Oxford University, and practically he had common publication with the guy who got the Nobel Prize for inventing the GARCH models, and luckily he developed this MFA toolbox, which can be useful for us because it's way better than MATLAB has its own official GARCH estimations. Just they are quite useless, so I don't like it. Sometimes they are developing it, but it has a lot of weaknesses. Okay, so as you can see, I don't need all these outputs, so I can remove them later on because I would like to see the parameters. So how important is the past shocks, and how important was the past volatility. So we just have this two things. There is a log likelihood which describes the fitness, the goodness of the fitness, but we don't care about this. But what I'm looking for is also the volatility of the data, so how the volatility changes from week to week, because it will be interesting to see. Okay, in the input side, yeah, and I have to also highlight that we have this folder, so if you have to run it again. Well, this toolbox is free to download and it's available at the website, so I'm just copying it here. Okay, so epsilon. Now I can rename the variable if I want. If I have no idea what are the inputs and outputs, practically there is the first part of the function is described that okay, this is the first line is the function, but after that is described that okay, what are the inputs, P, O, Q, values, error type, and so on. So error type, but after that we can see that so some of them are already optional, so we don't have to define them, but I would like to, so this one is coming with us. But the rest we can delete them. So if we don't have the desired input, it will give us an error message, so we cannot forget it. Okay, so P is always confusing them, so let's check. Positive scalar interior representing the number of systemic innovations, so practically this part. So what was coming up? Symmetric innovation. So let's look back for 1 week. On the data, right now I don't care about the O function because it will just gives us that what happens maybe if there is a depreciation, then the volatility increases much more than when it's appreciating. But usually for euro, US dollar, it behaves way more and it doesn't like it. So it can give us error and yeah. And also last week's volatility is considered if we are setting it to 1. Practically we could set it to 2, 3 and 4, but when I was testing it in the past, usually this 1 week memory is working only well. So after that it doesn't have any added value if you are just adding 2 weeks. We have to look for a really crazy data set when we can have the chance to fit it nicely. And Euro US dollar is one of the assets which are the closest to the efficient market theory anyways. So we need just simple models. Maybe this QT distribution will be also overkill because, yeah. So this is an asymmetric student T distribution. I will show you why I want to use this one. Because practically this is providing data, so it can include also extreme jumps. Otherwise normal distribution is running out so fast after it deviates away from the expected zero change, then the mass of extreme fluctuations, they are quite insufficient, so compared to reality. So that's why student T distribution can capture this. If it's asymmetric, then we are able to say that, okay, maybe there are more days when it's appreciating, or there are more days when it's depreciating. So not just it have to be similar number of days in both directions. So, yeah. So let's run this part of the script, and it has not run to any error messages, which is good. And let's just grab. Oh no. And this is this is not good because this one is not efficient fitting. So maybe this QT distribution was not my greatest idea. So let's go back to a more conservative one, because in other cases, if it would be not US dollar euro, it would be a good idea. Just, yeah, this one is behaving too well. Okay. Okay, so let's continue here. So we can say that, just to describe what we have here, is that alpha is this one, beta is that one. So past shocks were affecting today's volatility by 16%, and last week's volatility affecting this week's volatility by 84%. So this is the textbook example that mostly volatility remembers on itself. So if the market was not able to price in market was not able to price in the euro against the USD, then it will be not able to do it this week as well. So in the past, in the last week, on the last week, then it won't be able to do it this week. So we can see that, yeah, it's a nice approach, but also we can see that we can fit only on the normal distribution because it was failing miserably. So usually it's not the case, but chocolate or cocoa and euro US dollar, somehow they are really nice from statistical point of view, so that's why. Okay, so we have the, and one last thing, this is what we are looking for. So if we would like to fit together secondary, this is an extreme thing, so it completely biased my model, but otherwise we can see that so the volatility is not constant. It changes from time to time. We can see the effect of COVID. It nicely increased it, but otherwise it's behave this way. There is this whole data peak created this huge disturbance, which is this is absolutely an artifact. So just did not want it to correct it because I was thinking that it will be ignored by the model, but we can see that it was not. Okay, so simulation. So we already have the parameters, so now we just have to have the hard simulate function. Parameters P, O, Q, error type. We don't need to define the touch type because its default value is 2, as I remember. And we need a forecasting range. So practically the company is operating or looking ahead for the next 5 years. So this T can be, we have 52 weeks in a year, and we have 5 years, so this will be the number. Okay, the parameters are, we already defined this variable, so we have nothing to do here. Also we can say that this is a simulation of the, the reason why it's HT and not sigma T, that in the Latin alphabet sigma is age, so in many textbooks we can find also the same approximation. Okay, this is the simulate data. Practically it will be the changes of the data set, so this is how we can use it for reconstruction. And now we have to do it 100 times. So this is when we have a repetitive issue. And this is when we can build up 4 cycles. So it doesn't matter that you are using VBA or R or other filtered programs. If you have a repetitive program, then 4 cycles will look like the same. Okay, you have to define that there is a variable which can take up a value within a range. So right now we need 100 simulations, so we will start with 1, and after that it increases gradually until it reaches 100, and then we just have to save the outputs here. So I'm only interested in the simulate data. We can also collect the simulated volatility, but yeah, this is not so important. So it's also what is important that we have to say that, okay, which variable do we want to remember, because all the other variables will be overwritten again and again when the cycle runs, and also we have to define the end point when we can restart the cycle again. So and if we are executing this, then it's run. Nowadays it runs immediately. Then in the past, when we have poorer computational power, then it was taking more time. But now we can see that what happens. Let's plot this out. So we can see that, yeah, there are different scenarios, and in these different scenarios the model will give us different estimations for the outputs, and practically these are the exchange rate changes. So if we are just adding it back to the original one, then we can build up exchange rate trajectories from that one. So yes, we have to do it. For not currency, exchange rate. Alternate courses. Yeah. No, because or yes, just okay. For I equals 2 till what is this number? Yeah. Whatever. The benefit of MATLAB, if we are, so we cannot even such compressions, but still this will be really special because we need the simulated euro US dollar exchange rate. But at the first day, J simulation, we have to take the last known data. So and first column, which was this number here, and then we have to add the first simulated change. So this will be the first simulated output for the first week, and after that we just have to add the additional things to that one. So on each I day, which starts at second, we will just add the previous day's value. So I minus 1 plus the same simulated days thing, and practically it will just build up itself. So that's why I did not want it to use logarithm, because it would just complicate things. So and this is when I forget to add the semicolon here, because now it describes everything. It can take a lot of time. Okay, so now if we are plotting the simulated data set out, so obviously this is a simulation, so that's why if you are running it multiple times, then the result will be different from time to time. So we can see that, okay, this scenario is quite crazy, because we have a negative 11 US dollar euro exchanges, so definitely this is highly an artifact here, because we cannot have negative interest rates, but otherwise we can see different scenarios. So it can be more appropriate. So let's see that what happens if we are running this again. Still we have... sorry, I did not run the simulated part. So, yeah. Still we have a negative. So somehow it has maybe this tendency to create negative interest rates or exchange rates because it has no idea that what is generated, just it's a model.
So this is an extreme rate?
Yes, yeah, so we can see here 100 alternate outcomes for the US dollar euro exchange rates for the next 5 years. And after that, if we start to split it for each year, then we can see that what can be the worst case scenario, best case scenario, and
so the worst case would be the yellow one, right?
yes. yes. But we will see the what is the worst 5%, and maybe we can eliminate some of these negative numbers from here. Yeah, because that one is quite ridiculous. So scenarios. Okay, so we have to go through. For I equals, so practically we need year data for 5 years ahead. So and from this simulated something, we need all the columns, and we can just say that okay, let's multiply it with 52, because in this case we can see that at the end of the first year, at the end of the second year, and so on, what happens. And also in this case we can use quantiles, as you learned from, no, not this kind of quantile. Yeah, quantile on data set. Especially short for is a nice thing, just this is for another class. And so this one is looking like this. So if I would like to find the fifth quantile, it means that it's located at the tail, so at the extreme part of the distribution, not in the medium part. So let's grab this and then put it here, and let's say that okay, I need the 5%, and also if I'm defining the other, and so 95%, it will define the other extreme part, and if I'm just defining 50%, it will be the medium. So
are we expected to do the same process?
no. I'm just creating new data sets. No, this is also master level.
It's so hard.
No. So just right now I'm showing you that how can we do this in a nice way, but no, it just this is just a demonstration, because this is the nature of the course, that I wanted to show you interesting things. So worst case and best case. Maybe worst case and best case, they are in the opposite direction, but we will see that. Yeah. So what is the, let's say, output 1 I 4. Just I would like to create one table from all these results, and then we can see what happens. So maybe this is the But if we are just checking this simulation, then we can see that, yeah, these are the worst case scenarios. These are the medium scenarios. So we can see that the medium cases, they are around 1. So we cannot see any difficulties. And all the extreme scenarios are increasing nearly to 2. which is quite crazy. But if we are using them, let's go back to the data set here. This is completely ridiculous. Okay, so the worst case is way too worst. Okay, this can be interesting, but I was able to generate disaster scenarios, not just worst case, because this is a complete devastation of the currency and other results also. So we can see. So this is the expected. So this is the best. we don't want to try this, what happens in this case, but okay, so now we can see that without any further implementation what can happen with the company. So so that's the reason why we are running such tests, because in this case we can come up. So there are many different ways, many different models how we can run simulation. This is just one of them, and but this is quite simple. So within 32 lines we are able to generate such a script which can provide us possible exchange rates. So that's why we can see it. And now I should, first of all, let's check the expected scenario. So how can I do this in an efficient or lazy way? It depends on yeah, because we have this first stage cost which is determined somehow. Yeah, it's coming from the other side, but it will be not elegant, but I will create these hedge expenditures, or I will use this line here. I don't want to add additional lines into the Excel sheet because it can make things complicated. So practically, right now we know that I used a 1-to-1 exchange rate. So we have to deviate from the 1-to-1 exchange rate. So let's say that 1 minus the actual exchange rate, and then we just have to multiply with the cost. And it will be not hedge expenditures anymore, it will be like so this is the foreign exchange loss without doing anything, because this is just how it's changing. So let's run this further. Okay, let's make it nice. So we can see that does it have a significant impact that we deviated from the 1-to-1 exchange rate? Not that terrible. Oh, maybe I messed up something. No, it's No, because after that it goes back to 1. But after that, why it's so slow? Yeah, but because after that we don't need as much engines, so that's the reason. Then we need more engines, but it's still relatively closer to 1 to 1. And this is also, we don't need as much engines, so that can be the reason why it's so small. Yeah, it's quite volatile what happens, but at least this is not a scripting error, so we can live with that one.
Sorry, so how are we gonna decide whether the exchange loss is a lot? Like, we have to consider it like a lot of
If you are looking on the profit of the year and it starts to become really strange, then it's a lot.
Okay.
So, okay, it's
So if it's like debated, like
yeah.
1-2 million is fine.
Yes. So let's. Do I have? Yeah, I have this FX. So let's use this one. So right now we have this output. Okay, so let's also copy. So for each years, then the expected scenario. We have the profit and loss statement. Well, let's copy the profit of the year. It's good just with the numbers. We don't want to connect it later on, and maybe we have to change them. So profit of the year and expected scenario. So in this case, we can build up also nice graphs from that one. And what we need also a value. So estimated fundamental value. Because this is what is interesting for us at the end of the day. So under the expected scenario value is this number. Okay, so now we can just say that, okay, this was cool, but let's see what happens if we are moving into the realm of extremities. So let's move this up to the worst. What can possibly go wrong? Oh, so this is not worst, this is best. Am I doing this right? Yeah, okay, so this is positive number, so this is a cost. Ah, so before of that we got gains. We gained. Yes, okay. So we were lucky, now we are not. Because definitely the profit is affected. So it's a worst. Yeah. Let's see the value. So the benefit of automatization is that, okay, we have to mingle a lot with the beginning, when we have to build up the Excel sheet, but after that just let's change here and there, and then we can just copy and extract the outputs. And also let's see the best scenario. Ah, we have profit for the first year as well, so good. And let's see what happens with the value. So now we just have to highlight, okay, that this is the profit. Yep. This is the value, and at least we can see what are the possible ranges for volatility or changes for valuation, for profit, because after that we can see that, okay, this business plan is robust or not. We can see that, yeah, company survives. So mostly we are profitable after we consolidated ourselves, and also the value is still positive. So at least it's working well. I'm not that happy with this forecasted ranges, but okay, it is what it is. So now we can copy them into the report. This is what I need. So one possible outcome for the worst 5%, the median, and the best 5%. Following, and then we can see that, okay, we can work with these things. So now we can see that, okay, in the case of no hedge, then this is what happens with the company. So our profit can fluctuate between, let's see the numbers, and our value can fluctuate between some other values. So we can see that, yeah, in the second critical year, practically we can nearly 80 million euros can be the difference. After that, this gap starts to close, but in the second year, when for me it's quite crucial to survive, 80 million. And you can remember that last time in the second assignment I tried to grab 100 million through taking up loans. So this is where we can see that it's nice to have some buffers, liquidity buffers, because if I'm unlucky, that I can burn up some of my liquidity due to unwanted currency changes, especially in the first year already. So I can lose already 50 million, and after that some additional 50. So I can run out of money easily at the end of the second year if you are unlucky. This is a nice warning that, yeah, it can be relevant. okay, in such a scenario, when euro loses most of its value, maybe we will have other problems as well, so not just this one, but yeah. But otherwise, we can see that the value of the company is quite robust against changes. So practically it can volatile or jump back and forth between. So it can stay within the range of euros. So this is why I can say that mostly, so some governments are always saying that, oh, depreciating currency is good for competitiveness, but at the end of the day, if the company is not healthy, then it just removes the incentives towards productivity increases. So if we would just take the original setup and we were just saying that, oh, depreciation will be good for our profitability, and they are doing nothing at all, then obviously the value will not change as much and will be not such robust against external changes. So we are just postponing the catastrophe. Cool, but still we need a total hedge scenario, so we need option fee, and in this case, how about not writing it from scratch? Somewhere here I should have also a nice script. About that one, or I will load in one soon, just yeah, this one. So okay, we have to dig or changes so many. So let's start with the first line. So if we need any kind of insulation against foreign exchange risk, options are great because practically they are insurances. So you have to pay an option fee, and in this case you have the right to sell or buy an asset at a predefined price at a predefined date. So that's why we like them. USD. So we need a spot rate for that one, and we need a target rate. We don't want to run any kind of foreign exchange rate risk, so that's why we will set it to 1. And we need a volatility. And practically right now we can say that, okay, let's not use the historical data sets, let's use the simulations. So we already have the simulated data sets, so simulated Euro US dollars, because it will be fun. Okay. And also we have the simulated volatility, so that's why I kept this. But what is really important that the HT is the square root of volatility, so we have to take the. Sorry, it's so it was the variance. So to get the standard deviation, we need the square root of it. So simulated volatility, simulated spot rate. Oh, geez. Yeah, we need the domestic interest rate. Oh. And we need a foreign interest rate. So this is the US dollar interest rate, this is the euro interest rate, and years until expiry, and this is the function. So still we need interest rate data, and we have something, because from the worst case scenario, yes, we were able to grab this. Just not for the US, we did not generate anything for the US, so for the US it will be fixed. I don't want to. And also decimal points must be introduced. Okay, so French 10 epsilon. Yeah, has only one row, but some columns, and we have to divide it by 100 because otherwise we will get really strange data. And for the US, let's say that here we'll have 0.06%. What is the current? US 10 epsilon yield. Oh, see, 3. Well, let's say it's 4. And we can have a conservative assumption about the levels. And still we have to calibrate this one because this is mass. So we have 5 years ahead. I don't want to overcomplicate everything, and then we have to multiply it. So just oh no, I did a stupid thing here. We need the output, because in this case we can calibrate in the right direction. So yeah, but in this case we can say that okay, this is the expected scenario, and in the case of volatility we just need some additional amendments. So we did the square root, should not forget about that one. But instead of simulated 0, we have to pick the simulated standard deviation, but we have to look for the medium scenario for volatility. And after that, let's check it that if we are making any complications in or changes in the script, it's always necessary to run it at the first time. That what happens if we are just setting it I to 1, and then I did not define this. Yep. Good, good. Then after that it should be okay. Yes. Okay, so we are able to run this one, and then we have the call option fees. Just I would like to transpose them. Okay. so let's give it a blue color, and in this case we can say that okay, let's remove all this foreign exchange risk from here, so we don't want to carry this anymore, but maybe I should create a save. Worst inflation, FX risk, and there will be the other one with option. So in this case we can say that okay, I'm not running the foreign exchange rate risk anymore. I'm saying that for each US dollars what I have to purchase, I have to pay this option fee and hedging cost in US dollars. So this is the amount of US dollars what I have to secure. So is this cheaper or not? We can see that it's not cheaper. So and this is the expected scenario in all the possible ways. So we cannot say that we will just sleep better with option, the usage of options, because in this case we can just grab this and put it to the data here. So with option, oh, this is not the best. So this is the profit here, and let's check the value. This is also with options, and if I'm just extending this and extending that one, so we can say that, yeah, so this is the price of sleeping well. That it can create us some mediocre profit, and it can cut some of the values, but practically there are not so many difference between the expected scenario when everything goes well and where nothing can go wrong. So in this case I can say that practically it's up to the preferences of the management at this point. That option fee can be high, so we could see that we have to pay a lot for options. No. Which can put the profitability under pressure, but the value of the company remains close to the expected value. So this is where we cannot say exactly that this is a good idea or bad idea, but let the management decide that do we want to run this or not. Because for me, I would sleep completely well if I would say that okay, let's use options. But at the same time, we have to sell it also to the shareholders. That which one do you want to pursue? So for me, I can say that value is good. Okay, we sacrificed some value generation, but still we are not fluctuating within this range anymore. Just we can say that okay, this is the expected scenario, and who cares about exchange rates anymore? So yeah, this is the conclusion for the.
Can we have the best scenario and the worst scenarios, like
Yeah.
calculators?
Yes, of course. So you can use the same thing in your own assignment. So you can use the same exchange rates.
What about the options?
And also the option fee. So everything it's
All right, thank you.
for you, because in this case at least we can compare the different business plans. So.